Yes, Dr. Ibukun Modupe Adesiyan is a senior lecturer in the Department of Biological Sciences at Achievers University in Owo, Ondo State, and she's also a research fellow affiliate of the Institute of Ecology and Environmental Studies in Obafemi Awolowo University. Sorry. I have had the pleasure of working with her on a project around the circular economy in Nigeria, Bangladesh, Tanzania, and Pakistan. And she led the most fascinating study on metal scrap recycling. It was by far a standout of our project. So I thought it would be a great idea for her to share her findings with you. Do you know how to share your screen, Ibukun? I don't know if sure. Are you there? I think, let me just see. You're not muted, so we have had.
Hello, Kathleen, I'm hearing you.
Oh, there you go. Can do you know how to share your screen?
Yes.
There you are.
Good morning, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Hello.
We're ready for your presentation. If you wanted to put your
Okay, please.
slideshow up.
Yeah, I'm coming. A moment. Sharing my screen right now. Okay. Yeah. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, good morning, everybody. Sorry for coming late. Yeah, so just as Kathleen has introduced me, my name is Ibukun Modupe Adesiyan. I'm from Nigeria. And like Kathleen introduced me, that I work at Achievers University. I just changed my university, sorry, I didn't inform Kathleen, to a new university, yes. So I'm now in University of Medical Sciences in Ondo City, in Ondo State, in southwest region of Nigeria. So that's where I work presently. So like Kathleen also rightly said, we work together on a project sponsored by the Royal Academy of Engineering UK. They are Frontiers of Development Research Seed Fund that we got sometimes in 2022. And we did the project between 2021 and 2022. We got the seed fund in 2020, sorry. So it's on data and system mapping for developing country circular economy. And I'm going to just be talking about the Nigerian perspective as the work I did with my group in Southwest Nigeria here. So the goal of the project was to gather and specify data collection and management requirements, and also to improve the reuse and recycling of materials in developing countries. We know that in developed countries, they already have data, structured data, they have all that is required, and circular economy, it's more fertile in those countries, but in Nigeria and most developing countries, it's a new process that is just being introduced, and the take-up is very, very slow. So when we talk about circular economy, it talks about markets that gives incentive to reusing of materials, reusing of products, rather than just one single life use of a product. It's encouraging reuse, recycling, and also products to go back into the economy for financial gains. So it also talks about the use of natural resources in a wisely way, and also to create jobs and develop new capacities. So that's what circular economy it's all about. And the principles behind circular economy, we all know the three principles of reuse, resource, reduce, reuse, and recycling. But in circular economy, it's about 7 circular economy principles that is being propagated right now, where we have redesign, we reduce, we either redesign or we reduce. Instead of using too much products, we use the products we are using. Then we also reuse a product so that it doesn't have just one single live use. And also when we use it and there's any damage to it, we repair. If it cannot be repaired, we renovate. Or if it cannot be renovated, then we recycle, and we also try to recover. So this is the 7 R's that is being encouraged in circular economy now. And this principle is to emphasize effective use of byproducts, and also to provide a promising framework rather, that gives a kind of resilient resource use and also reduce greenhouse gas emission. You know, we are in the era of climate change impact. So this is also trying to make sure that we have a resilient environment whereby wastes as valuable products, we have multiple potentials to generate financial gains. And this is very critical for developing countries. And that is why the projects that we did with the sponsorship of Real Academy tried to look at how the circular economy can be, what are those data that is needed to improve circular economy uptake in developing countries. And when we come to Southwest Nigeria, we found out that solid waste are composed majorly of wood. We have organic waste, we have textile, nylon, plastic is very huge, and e-waste, talking about scrap, computer waste, and things like that. And also we have metals, and these metals comes from scrap gadgets in home, appliances, from abandoned motor vehicles, demolished buildings, and so on. So metal scrap is an important component of solid waste management in Southwest Nigeria, but it is yet to be fully integrated into the circular economy. And that's the aspect that I focused on in this project, because we have huge amounts of metal scraps that are in circulation in the environment. And in most cases, people just use them and they just dump them, you know, indiscriminately in the environment. But gradually, people are already recognizing the importance and how valuable this waste are, and they are already recognizing that it has some financial returns if they can sell it to recycling company. But it is still yet to be fully integrated, and it is estimated to account for more than 6% of the total solid waste that is being generated in Nigeria. And most valuable and priced of all this municipal solid waste is the metal scrap. It's highly priced, is the most valuable. And examples of some of those metals that are recovered from this waste are iron, aluminum, steel, copper, and so on. So we found out that the metal scrap sector is, just as I mentioned, is yet to be fully integrated, and only informal stakeholders are the major ones in this business. And it's a micro level circularity that exists within the household, because some of the household members also are already recognizing that this waste has value. So they trade it for in return for financial gain. And the household normally practice reduce, reuse, repair, and also reuse. When they repair, they reuse it. That's a strategy that is mostly practiced. Like you have gadgets, unlike in developed countries, where you can use your gadgets and take it back to the company where you bought the gadgets, give it back to them and get a new one. But here in my country here, most times when you buy your gadgets, it's either you reduce the need for such gadgets. Where you cannot reduce, you buy it, you reuse it. When it gets spoiled, you repair. And after repair, you reuse again until you find out that it cannot be repaired again. Then you can trade it for financial returns. And we have some of these stakeholders, which are their informal. We have the pickers. These people go about, they go around communities. They have a way of announcing their arrival in different communities and ask people that have scrap. They also create awareness, because by their going about, people get to know that, oh, so these things have value. So they go around to ask for, if there's waste, metal scrap waste, maybe coming from iron beds, from your chairs, from maybe there's a particular part of the vehicle that was repaired or that was replaced. So the bad one, they buy it from people in exchange for money. And some of them don't even carry money for security reasons. They exchange it for needs. Hello, can you hear me? Okay. So some of them exchanged, they get these things in exchange. For example, they can collect this waste product, this waste metal in exchange for maybe a particular need in a household. Maybe an household need maybe a drum. So you can tell them, I don't need your money, I need drum. So they can value what you are giving them for a particular size of drum. In some communities, they do that like a trade by barter. So you give me this waste, I give you a particular thing that you need. They still do that. So we have the pickers, they go about, they are the major off-takers. In fact, they help to keep the environment clean, even though they are doing this business for their own financial gain. So they are the major off-takers, they pick these things from the environment, they also buy, they go within the community. And even some people in the community already know them. They know their houses, they know their shops, they go there to give them these things. And then they take it to the sorters, the vendors, who are the retailers. These are the people that will sort it, because according to the dealer's requirement, they already know what the dealers want. They already know the quality they want, the type of metals, the ones that has aluminum inside, lead, they separate them, and then they sell to the dealers. These dealers are the ones that take it to a particular agent, who is the middleman between those dealers, the dealer sorters, the pickers, and the recycling companies. The recycling company does not interface with these off-takers. They only deals with the agents. They communicate with the agents, and the agents mediate between these different stakeholders. Even in price fixing, they help them to sort for funds to buy this from people that wants to sell. They help them also to get transportation support, because these retailers, these pickers don't have lorries, they don't have these trailers, but the dealers and the agents, they are the brokers. So they are the businessmen with huge money, so they help them. So once they pick in a particular area, they may call the dealer and say, oh, we have this certain kilos, those amounts of waste. Then they come around, help them to transport it, then they start the business, they weigh it, and those ones sell to the recyclers. So in Nigeria, in my country, the recyclers, most of them, they recycle different types of this waste into ingots. So some of them sell these ingots like a metal bars. They melt it and form it like a bar. It's called ingots. So they sell it to some other companies, and most cases they use it to make metal rods for the housing industry, for construction, and also into nails that they also use in construction. And some of them, there are some particular elements that they export out of the country also. And then we have the government also as critical stakeholders that help to oversee tax collection, environmental regulation, emission control, and also policy enforcement. So since we are trying to see what data do we have, because we need data to be able to regulate what this industry, what they are doing. But we find out because it's mainly controlled by the informal sector. So there is no data. You go around there is no data. You even ask government industry, because people are not really aware about how important the circular economy is and how it can also help to grow the economy. So the government is not really focusing. They just leave it to those informal informal stakeholders. So we look at it that the indicators, what are the indicators, the metrics and the data sets that is in use by states and also government for the circular economy. But we couldn't really get much in this project, because when we go around, we go to ministries, Ministry of Environment, we went to the Ministry of Finance, we asked different stakeholders, we see that there is no data. And we find out that it's because it's still in the infancy. When you talk about circular economy, it's still in the infancy, and there's barely any national or regional level indicators, metrics or data sets that private sector that we can use to really evaluate the performance of circularity system that is being practiced. And this is because, you know, the government is only interested in regulating emission, enforcing environmental laws by these recycling companies. But in terms of what is the tons of waste that those industries get every month, how much is even the money government is not really having this, there's no record. Nobody is recording this. Even the association, they don't have record because they are not well trained. There's no government support to try to enlighten them on the best practices for some of those things. And we could see that the only indicator that can be used to measure circular economy in Nigeria from our own research is waste material flow and also the recycling rates of solid wastes. What do we mean by waste material flow is if we can go through all those organizations, all those informal associations, like the waste picker associations, like those sorters, if we can go through them, maybe over a couple of months, and we try to give them maybe a kind of, maybe an app whereby, and give them incentive because sometimes they want to evade tax. They don't want to pay the required tax, so they don't want government to know how much they are dealing with. So unless there's incentive also to encourage them to always publish this data, maybe on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, how much waste, talking about metal scrap now, were you able to get from people? What is the tons on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis, as the case may be? By this, then government will be able to evaluate what this waste recycling is generating into the economy. And then they can be able to come up with policies and also to come up with incentives or support to improve the businesses of these stakeholders. So we found out from this research that there is need to generate data on the key indicators for measuring the impact in each sector of the economy. Like we have in developing countries, I know of some companies like Coca-Cola. When you buy Coke now, there's always a logo that you can take it back and you get some amount of money back. So individuals will take their empty Coke bottles and go and trash it in shops in return for some money. But here in my country, it's not like that. So people just throw all these bottles, they just throw it around. It's only these pickers that is about to pick it and take it to the company. And also the amount, nobody knows how much they're even buying this thing. So it doesn't really attract other people into the business because they are not publishing all this information and nobody is regulating. We don't even know if they are getting the right amount of incentive or buyback amount they're supposed to get from selling this to the different recycling companies. So we in our own, from our own projects, our own research, when we went around even the companies, the different stakeholders, we realized that what are those key indicators that we can use to measure the circularity in our country. So we found out that we need to know how much job is being created. Sincerely, this waste recycling business, waste picking business is actually creating job, but there is no data to know how much job is being created annually. We see people that told us that, oh, when I didn't have a job, I've been doing this business, going about buying these scraps and I'm getting money. Some even build houses from what they are getting from it, but there's still no data to tell us how many people were engaged on a yearly basis, how much job were created. Recycling companies, we don't have indigenous. Most of these recycling companies are owned by foreigners, like Chinese, Arabs, and the likes. So we need to know indigenous metal scrap recycling companies. Unless we have them, that's when we can be able to measure, to say, oh, this circular economy has really contributed to the growth of our country's economy. Cooperative societies, there is non-existence. Many of them do cooperatives within themselves, borrow themselves money or get money from family members to support this business. So we need to know, are there patents and innovations? Talking about research institutes, how much are they doing to aid this sector? Are there patents, innovations in terms of equipment and technology to support the activities of these recycling companies or even the waste pickers? They need some little indigenous maybe technologies to support their activities, how they are able to, like some of them use magnets. They have like a long rod with magnets at the tip. So they take it around to those landfill. So once there's metal, the magnet will magnetize, pick it up from the heap of dump. That's their own indigenous technology that they'll be able to improvise to support their business. But we need more technological applications, apps that can improve, their business model is needed. and so on. Budgetary allocations, there's nothing like that. Subsidies, increase the revenue from taxes, nothing like that. So we need to know number of youths that are engaged, reduction, as this reduce unemployment, awareness creation through workshops. These are some of these key indicators that we find out that could help to actually measure how far we have gone in adopting circular economy in developing country and also Southwest Nigeria especially. Also energy, increase in material for construction. How much is going back into construction? How much of these rods are people buying into construction companies? We need to know how many tons are being produced on a yearly basis or monthly basis. We went around, we couldn't find any information. Improved housing availability. Has this improved? Because we expect that when they use this scrap material, it's supposed to reduce the cost for that. So environment, we need to also see how this as the improvement in our environment, quality of recycled solid waste. We need to see how household generated waste, how it's being disposed. Because by the time we see that we have a cleaner environment, then we can be able to measure that indeed we are improving in terms of circular economy, because some of these scraps we see all around, we will not be seeing it. People will go to a particular place to exchange their scrap metals or scrap plastics, whichever one, for return, financial returns. Also improved health status, because this waste also impacts on the health of people, the populace in entirety. And also the equipment for waste generation, waste segregation. The equipment, like when we had our interview with these stakeholders, they said that they need equipment that they can use to crush, because when they crush these metal scraps, it reduces the how will I put it now? It reduces the space it takes in the lorry, so they can put more quantity. They can have more quantity of waste transported in a particular lorry. More tons, yes, can be transported. But when they don't have the equipment to segregate or to crush these metals, they tend to upload it into their lorries as it is like that, and it takes space. So that means that normally what they're supposed to transport in just one or two movements has to be done like 5 times, because they cannot compress, they don't have equipment to compress this metal scraps into the lorries. So they need some of this equipment also. So to achieve, then we now check, okay, how can we model the informal waste recycling value chain into circular economy? These are informal waste recycling is what we have now. We need to model them into circular economy. So we see, to achieve this, we need a well-structured circularity system in Nigeria. There is need for critical analysis of activities of different actors in order to be able to design actionable interventions that will boost and sustain the circular economy in Nigeria. And to do this, we try to find out what are some of these external and internal dynamics that we need. And this is what is summarized below. We need incentive. They need incentive to invest, because businessmen, indigenous businessmen will not come to invest if there's no incentive to do so. Because as it is, there's no incentive, there's no regulation, there's no support from government whatsoever. They need investment stimulus. Knowledge and expertise is very critical. The knowledge is very low. People are not aware of the importance or viability of waste recycling. And then they need financial capital, local capacity, and resource availability. Then individual orientation and cultures. It's also some of these internal dynamics that is affecting it, because some people have culture, like when they see you, this kind of business is for uneducated people, or it's for poor people. So many people are not going into it. And then they need
And be patient for a minute.
Hello?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, so there's lack of policy performance indicators. Like I said before, we don't have these indicators that helps to evaluate policy, even the existing policy, how far has it gone? What has it achieved? There are no indicators to measure this. There are unclear principles of circular economy. When we interview these stakeholders, they are not so clear about the principles, unclear principles. Then unstable international market price. This is also a factor. You know, there's inflation in prices, international prices, and because this international prices also affects how these scraps are being bought from these stakeholders. So this unstable international market prices at times cause conflicts between those recycling companies and those waste pickers and the dealers. So at times they have this metal scrap that is needed urgently by companies, but because the price is not favorable, they tend to like hoard it, they don't make it available, and this causes a lot of issue between the recycler and those stakeholders. So this is just a summary of what we were able to get from the project, and then we also profile some key intervention points, design elements, and technological systems that could be developed to respond to this. So we said there should be operational guidelines for firms, engagement of waste stakeholders, because there is no operational guidelines. So the recycling companies are the one dictating, and these people don't have a choice than to dance to their tune, which they're not happy about. And they also development of circular economy standard. There should be standard and regulation in practicing the circular economy. There is no standard, there is no regulation. The existing regulation are not being enforced. Then we need to creation of waste yards as strategic locations. You see these people, some of them have this waste yard in their own, within their own compound, which is not healthy. So you go around the community, you see waste yard within the household. This should not be. So there's need for creation of waste yard at strategic locations within, not even within communities directly, maybe strategic place, like I said, across different local governments. Then training of waste pickers and sorters, because many of them are exposed to dangers, infections, and they're not even aware of how dangerous some of their activities are, as in the way they go about it. So there's need to train them on how best to go about their businesses. Then we need to design circular economy strategies it should be context specific and tailored to our own cultural and social, environmental factors. Most times we bring ideas from developed countries with well-advanced, technological advancements and so on, which is cannot really be integrated into our own context. So if at all circular economy is going to thrive in our country, it has to be context specific, tailored to our own cultural and social factors. Is very important, because like I said, these informal people are not that educated. They cannot even adopt some of the technologies that are being used in other countries. So we have to be context specific. Then inclusion in the knowledge of this circular economy knowledge into the curriculum, into the school curriculum, is very important, so that there is, holistic awareness. Then standardization of waste pickers activities, provision of soft tools, I've said that before. Then there should be synergy and collaboration among government agencies, and this will result in better engagement with stakeholders. There is no synergy, there is no collaboration. Like we asked them, how often do you have meetings with government agencies? Zero. No collaboration. All what government is interested in is to collect tax from these bodies, from their organization, and every other thing that pertains to their welfare, nothing at all. So there's need for synergy and collaboration, even though in some, I have to mention, like we did this project in 2 states in Southwest, the big states, Lagos and Oyo State. Lagos have a better model because it's an urban city where we have many of these companies situated. Really, many people, in fact, they take all this waste from other states to Lagos because we have more of these recycling companies in Lagos. So Lagos have a better model when it comes to this, but in other states like Oyo State and in other parts of the country, in the northern, eastern, they don't really have a good model. Lagos, even though it's still at inception, they are developing on it, but they have a better model. And we see that some of these stakeholders, we have more educated people. We have, they collaborate more even with researchers in Lagos, even though it's still at a very infancy level, but it's much more better in Lagos State, because we could see that the governments there, they are more aware about this circular economy, and governments try to give them incentive, create landfill for this waste disposal and stuff like that. So I have to make mention that Lagos State is the best when it comes to this circular economy model and how it's being run. So these are some of our investigation findings from our investigation about circular economy in Nigeria. Like we said, this project was done in Bangladesh, Tanzania, Pakistan, and Nigeria. So other countries also have similar reports. Well, I'm presenting today reports from Nigeria, and the project was very interesting. The stakeholders were very happy, and they request that we must let them know the outcome of our project also, because some of these government agencies to need the outcome of our reports. And one of those things we got to also know from them is that most times we as researchers, when we do our research, we don't go back to the stakeholders to let them know the outcome of our research. So which also incapacitates them as to know the direction to go or how to improve on what is existing. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy my presentation about the circular economy, what is happening in Nigeria, and what our findings were. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ibukun. That was amazing. You did a very good job. I was wondering if anybody had questions. We have maybe a couple minutes.
Can we unshare, Caitlin, for starters?
Yes.
We can see all hands.
Can you, Ibukun, can you stop sharing your screen?
I want to stop sharing now.
Yeah.
Please. Okay, well, while we're doing that, the first and most important question is, we have recorded that. Can we please isolate it from the recording of the whole event and place it on our YouTube channel? Because I think it is well worth lots of other people seeing, and I'd like to watch it again to pick up all the bits that I missed on the way through. But a piece of work that I'm really interested in because of work that I'm doing elsewhere at the moment. So is that okay if we just share it with other people?
Yes.
Oh. Ibukun, do you mind?
Oh, yeah, it's fine. No problem. I don't have to.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. I'll leave the field clear for other people. Mr. Battle, Dr. Battle, you had your hand up.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for a really great talk, Ibukun. And it's kind of a really, really important topic. You know, it's I think we've lost our circular economy back in the Middle Ages in the UK. So I don't think so. You're well ahead of us. I guess I've got loads of questions, but I'll only ask one for now. When you were talking about the ingots, I was kind of a bit unclear who makes the ingots and what kinds of metals, because obviously it's quite a high energy process to melt down metal and create ingots. I wondered if it is kind of lower temperature metals like lead.
Yes, the recycling.
But I would just say it reminded me of, I used to do a project down at Talbot Steelworks in Wales, and they used to basically throw whole cars into the steel vat, but it's, you know, tires and all, and you see all this stuff boil off. But yeah, it's a really high energy process. So I wonder what they do.
Yes, it's true. Yes, it's true. It's real energy. Yeah, energy demanding process. Yes, the recycling companies produce ingots from this metal scrap. Like I said, the metal scraps are segregated. They already have their demand. So these waste pickers already know which parts of their scrap is aluminium, they separate it, which one is steel, which one is iron, like that. So depending on the ones the companies are interested in, they melt it, high energy. In fact, if you pass through some of this, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, if you pass through some of these recycling companies, you see huge film that engulf the whole area, the whole community. It's they even constitute another environmental challenge, another environmental pollution into the environment. That's what they do. They melt it into ingots. And that's how they sell it to other companies that use it to, some of these companies, not all of them.
Are these locally owned or kind of owned by the government, or are they overseas owned?
Hello, can you come again, please?
Yeah, I just wondered who owns these plants. Is it kind of, are they locally owned private companies or government or overseas?
Yes, private company.
Okay. That's it.
Private company. We have most of them are Chinese. Yes, they're
Okay.
Chinese national.
Yeah.
They're private companies. Yeah, so they only pay tax to the government, and most times we heard during our projects that they export some of these ingots to other countries based on demand or something. Yeah. Only few companies in my country use directly recycle this waste into a final product, like metal rods for construction and mills. Very few, but most of them produce ingots and they export it out.
So Miguel, I think you had your hand up next, and then Boris.
Hello, please can you come again?
Yep, I've got a question, Ibukun. Thank you very much. It's a really fascinating topic, especially for Western countries to start adopting. So my question was around the data collection challenge, and I know that Africa has made great strides in terms of mobile communications and mobile apps. Because it had no physical infrastructure previously, right? So they could start from scratch using mobile. And I wondered if any consideration had been given to like building apps where like say the people who are picking up these scraps, if they can photograph them and tag them somehow and use their GPS, the date and the time, and be able to sort of like calculate the volume of the metals in there, calculate what possible metal there is using an app. Because I think the incentivization on the part of people is a difficult topic. I was just interested in your viewpoint.
Hello, sorry, please can you come again? My network is not stable, so I missed that the final aspect of the question.
Yeah, I'm interested in what your perspective is on how best to collect the data.
Oh yeah, so like we have in our full reports, from my own perspective, which what I was able to gather on field, I think the best way to be able to get data, like I said, we have the informal people in that are critical stakeholders. We need to have more educated people, because even if you introduce technology to some of these people, they may have difficulty in making use of such technology. It could be very difficult for them. So number one way to be able to get data is to have a central landfill dump sites where these materials are dumped, because many of them just have this dump, they have within their own household, they'll go and get these things and dump it. So if there is a law that says nobody must have a waste yard within your compound in the community, every waste goes to a particular dump site. If that can be enforced, then it will be very easy to calculate, to know the amount of waste that is being generated. Or we go through, like we have waste collector really. We have in some areas, not all areas, in some well-structured estates and in urban cities, we have waste collectors. These people that come, you pay monthly, they come and collect your waste. So those ones, it's easy to have measurements from them. But these waste companies also, they're not interested in recycling. So they get all this different category of waste and dump them at landfills, government designated landfills. So these pickers goes there and search for these different types of waste categories, pick them and then take them to their own shops or to their own apartments where they sort it and later transport it to those companies. So I think one of the ways to start with is to abolish people having these waste shops or dumps within their own household. It has to stop. There needs to be a particular place where they dump this waste. That's number one. Then number two, governments must be able to send maybe one of their agent staffs for Ministry of Environment or Ministry of Commerce and Trade that must be designated in these recycling companies, such that when the dealers or agents brings products to sell to those recycling companies, they are there to take data, to record how many tons. Like we were told, when some of this waste, metal scrap waste are being sold to the companies, they complained that the company will segregate and said that they have some waste or some impurities in what they brought, maybe dust. You know, some of these metals, they're already rusting. So the company will have a way of removing all those dusts from it, all those rusty dust from those metals, and that reduce the weight at the end of the day. You know, they may have weighed from their own shop and think they have 10 tons. By the time company remove all those waste, all those metal rusty dust from it, it reduces to maybe 9-point-something tons or 8 tons or 9 tons. So if government can designate some of their officers and those
we've got other questions. We need to move on. So
I think that's one of the ways by which we could actually get data, which is very
Boris, did you have a question, Boris?
Yes, do you hear?
Quick one, please. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, maybe I didn't understand something. I always have troubles with understanding, but Ingrid, I understand you very well. You're a very clear speaker. But in the beginning, I thought that you're telling that you are coming from University for Medical Studies, you know, and then you are lecturing about economy of waste and so on. How is this connected? Is this in your country you're studying on medicals or economics? I don't understand that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Like I said, I'm now University of Medical Sciences. My PhD is in ecology and environmental sciences. So I lecture environmental health students. I'm in environmental health department, and this is also about environments. You know, we are concerned about how to keep our environment clean. Environmental health graduates, when they graduated, they work as environmental officers attached to companies, to government agencies, to communities, to enforce cleanliness in the environment. So it's still part of our work. And, you know, as researchers, we are trained to be multidisciplinary researchers. So it's still part of my work, yes.
Thank you. David Dewhurst.
I'm awed by the number of heads that you've considered in doing this. Can I ask you what you see as the biggest difficulties, potentially the sticking points and so on? I mean, okay, when I last looked, the CO2 output per capita in Nigeria was about 1/17 of what it was in the United States. So we've got plenty to learn, and having shoveled through a ton of soil in the last few weeks in my back garden, found strange things there. I guess it's no easy job being a picker, but is it in compliance, or is it at the top, the bottom, the middle? What do you see as the hardest bits facing you to getting the kind of system that you would like implemented?
Okay, you are saying what? Sorry, please, can you
what
come
is
again?
going
My
to
network
be?
is not stable.
What do you?
Please, can you come again with your question?
Yeah. What frightens you most in terms of the things that need to be addressed in order to completely implement your system? I mean, in Britain, we get corruption at the bottom, we get corruption at the top to some degree, we get muddled metrics. What is the hardest aspect do you expect of sort of doing all the things which you're indicating across Nigeria?
Okay, so I think,
or is it too dangerous to answer that question?
No. I think what is very, very important for you know, in addition to all the things we have suggested, is enforcement.
Yeah,
we have a very poor enforcement policy, as in policy enforcement is very poor. So even if governments provide all these things we've talked about, if enforcement is not strong, then we will still go back to the same level. So we have so many policies, we call it policy somersaults. they are there, but the enforcement, government is not really strong in enforcing. And I think corruption and so many things are also one of the reasons why they are not able to enforce some of these regulations. So for me, I think enforcement is very key. Whatever policy, whatever is being provided, enforcing those regulations is very critical. So enforcement is most important for me.
Thank you. Mike Vernon, you've been waiting very patiently. You're on mute, old chap.
Thank you. Yes, I'm a very patient guy, as you know. Good morning, Ibukun. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. And I wanted to thank you very much for the opportunity to take a nostalgic trip down memory lane, because when I was younger, I used to pick my way through scrapyards in the Midlands looking for parts for my car, and heaving aside the various bits of metal and the different sort of interconnectedness, the difficulty of separating stuff out when you found exactly the right gear stick or gear knob that you were looking for, actually extracting it and making it useful for recycling. I had to do that because as a student, I was economically disadvantaged, if you like, by my background. But the thing that I was interested in was, you have given a very clear, granular operational thing. I could actually smell the picking yards, the scrap yards. I could actually feel the heat in the summertime as I was looking for that. I could hear the overseer shouting at me, get a move on. I could hear all sorts of things from my memory. But the thing that I knew was that the scrapyard owners were making a lot of money at my expense. So I was intrigued by a couple of things in your presentation. One was the establishment of a viable business model. And I think this connects a little bit to what David was asking as well. And in the process of creating a viable business model, here in the UK, in the companies I work in, they very poorly understand their own business models. They do not know in one department or another how they connect together to make a viable business model. What I do know is the viable business model depends heavily on what you describe as synergy and collaboration. What I wondered was, what are your strategies for developing synergy and collaboration in support of a viable business model that will help the people who, like I was when I was younger, are disadvantaged so that we have to go and pick metals out of a pile of stuff that has been discarded? So what is your strategy for doing that? Because it sounded difficult with the way in which you described the departments.
Yes, so I am not an economist. I'm an environmentalist, but I think my little knowledge to be able to have this kind of synergy and collaboration that will lead to a good, I think the researchers needs to come in. They have to be the link between these people and the stakeholders. What do I mean by this? They have to be the one, like there are different aspects that need to be factored in. Their health, even in giving them technology, you must consider their health, how to use the technology, the finances, all these things has to be put in place. So for even a good business model, all this information are critical to developing a very good business model, and also to have a very good synergy and collaboration. When the knowledge is not there, they don't even know what they want. The other party will not even know what to give. So knowledge is very critical. And I believe that researchers are the one that can help both parties to create the knowledge that they need to bring out the kind of synergy that would favor both sides. So that's my own little understanding of the strategy that can be used. Knowledge is critical. We have to know what this party needs, what is their need. The other party that is going to bring the finances, we need to understand what is their own gain for bringing those finances into play. Then they must find a center and then be able to develop a business model that will work for both sides. So that's my own understanding as an environmentalist.
Thank you. So if I can come in then, so the final question, Dr. Hibbs, please, and then we will move on. You're on mute, Dr. Hibbs. Genevieve.
There we go. Ibukun, That is amazing. I specialized in the healthcare of people at work as a nurse. And my despair is that there is no research going on in occupational health nursing. There is some going on in occupational health medicine, I think. That was always better funded. But in the training in Brunel University, where I was actually a lecturer until they made me redundant, there is no research position in the nursing, in the occupational health nursing. When I trained at the accident hospital was actually formed because they were having so many accidents in the West Midlands due to the manufacturing there. And they formed it, and they actually started the occupational health nursing course so the nurses could be trained to go out into the field and actually be looking after the workers in the workplaces and chasing up on all of these things. So really glad that you're doing that from this end. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so again, please, can we say a really, really big thank you to Dr. Ibukun for that. Really excellent stuff, really, really, really relevant, and I think a lot for us to learn here and apply some of that thinking to some of the things that are going on in this country, not least the recovery of spare parts for old Ford Escorts and Ford Anglias, Mike Vernon. So, Dr. Ibukun, thank you very much. We'll put your video up and we'll let you know when it's there. Thank you.